Good afternoon. It's 1 p.m. here in Kenya's capital, Nairobi, and this is The Ambassador. With me, your ambassador, Paul Mathenge. This is where we debunk global diplomacy and geopolitics. Now to our first story. Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed met with Somali President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud in Mogadishu on Thursday to ease tensions and reaffirm ties between the neighboring nations. Their talks come after a controversial deal between Ethiopia and Somaliland, which had strained relations. The meeting covered trade, security, and Ethiopia's access to the sea, as both sides work to normalize relations, Peres Kigo reports.
Ethiopia's Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed was welcomed in Somali capital Mogadishu on Thursday by President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud for talks aimed at reaffirming their ties. Tensions between the neighboring countries mounted last year after landlocked Ethiopia struck a deal to lease a stretch of coastline from Somalia's breakaway region of Somaliland. Ethiopia planned to build a naval base and commercial port there in exchange for possible recognition of Somaliland's independence. Mogadishu was furious over their agreement, accusing Addis Ababa of undermining its territorial integrity. Following talks mediated by Turkey in December, the two countries pledged to find an arrangement to allow Ethiopia access to and from the sea. Mohamud then visited Ethiopia earlier in 2025. Thus, the discussions focused on a wide range of bilateral issues, from trade to security, as the two leaders attempt to normalize relations. Moments before the Ethiopian leader landed, shells were fired in the Somali capital, but it is unclear if the attack was associated with his visit. Somalia's security situation is highly volatile, with the Islamist Al-Shabaab group active in the country. The meeting marks a step toward easing tensions between Ethiopia and Somalia, but lasting stability will depend on how both nations navigate their differences, particularly regarding Ethiopia's access to the sea and Somaliland territorial concerns. Peres Kigo, GBS News.
A California judge has halted a controversial plan by the Trump administration to fire thousands of recently hired federal workers. The ruling blocks the United States Office of Personnel Management from executing mass layoffs across federal agencies. Irene Juguna has more.
In a significant legal setback for the Trump administration, a federal judge in California has put the brakes on a proposed plan to dismiss thousands of newly hired federal workers. The ruling came after the U.S. Office of Personnel Management attempted to execute the layoffs, claiming authority to reduce the federal workforce across various agencies. The judge determined that the OPM does not possess the legal power to mandate these widespread firings, siding with the plaintiffs who argued that the plan violated civil service laws. This decision comes as the administration pushes for broader government reforms, including trimming the federal workforce, a move that has faced considerable pushback. The case has raised concerns about the future of federal workers' rights and the administration's approach to reducing government size. As it stands, this ruling
Tensions between the United States and South Africa has escalated after President Donald Trump cut financial aid, citing concerns over.
The dispute stemmed from South Africa's long-standing efforts to address historical land dispossession, a policy that has faced international scrutiny, particularly from Western nations. Additionally, South Africa's ICJ case against Israel, which alleges act of genocide in Gaza, has drawn strong reaction from the United States, which firmly backs Israel. Ramaphosa called to do a deal suggests a diplomatic approach to mitigating the fallout, seeking a middle ground that could restore United States support while maintaining South Africa's stance on these critical issues. However, it remains to be seen whether such negotiations will yield a compromise, given the deep-rooted political and ideological differences at play. Peres Kigo, GBS News.
The ambassador will take a short break. We'll be right back with more as we debunk global diplomacy and geopolitics.
How can I start the missionary school? And God was giving me the heart to start the missionary school. In 1972, my most beautiful daughter was born. Now, I didn't raise my daughter, but God raised my daughter, so she was raised so wonderfully to work for the gospel. And so 1976, the missionary school was born. And I feel so moved as the church is moving for the gospel. The pastor lives for this.
Hello, kids. Did you know a year has 31,557,600 seconds? Why do you think so? Exactly. There are 60 seconds in a minute, 60 minutes in an hour, 24 hours in a day, and 365 and 25 days in a year. We count the extra 0.25 because of leap years. When you multiply all these numbers together, you get a huge number of seconds. That's why a year feels long, but time still flies when you are having fun.
What is always before you but can't be seen?
Kudiscover talent.
Kudiscover. Ulijuangaje like unaweza imba like yeah.
Kini Trace Jumi Kipchoge kwa ngoma na mfala wanani dis na wanabonga kwa ngoma, mafan jua ananipenda ndo nazidi kwa roga, wenye walenjaribu manze walishachoka na nikozabe meditation naendelesha generation niliofanya
Wewe at 1 year old ulikuwa unafanya nini? You're feeling the vibe. Ulitoa a few days ago, unaweza taka utuambie like ulikuwa unafikiria nini when you came up with the lyrics? Yeah.
So I'm doing my thing. Don't try and stop me when I'm doing my thing. I'm tryna boss, let me do my thing. And if you're tryna win, you can be on my team. Yeah, so I'm doing my thing. Don't try and stop me when I'm doing my thing. I'm tryna boss, let me do my thing.
You feel like you're young at heart, I'm an old soul. If you could only listen to one singer or band for the rest of your life, who will you choose?
And the question of the day is, can you survive without internet?
Ngumu, plus kuachilia hizo story tu zote zikupite ni ngori.
Niwaambie ukweli. Like hii ni kama kuambia mtu mwenye alikuwa amezoea kushindana nguo, mwambie toa nguo ushinde uchi. Hiyo huku atriki kwa sababu sasa like ilikuwa imekuingia kwa kichwa kabisa.
Sasa unaweza kaa holi ya bila simu.
Kuspend hii most of the time kwa simu. Also you need to run skills. So nilipata na place hapa nikapo apply huko. And then I started learning skills. Digital skills.
Yes, hadi siku mbili haiwezi.
Kwa wiki naachilia hata kama ni siku mbili ama sometimes na extend to wiki nzima. Napata shiki simu yangu.
Everywhere, GBS.
And the question of the day is, can you survive without internet?
Ngumu, plus kuachilia hizo story tu zote zikupite ni ngori.
Niwaambie ukweli. Like hii ni kama kuambia mtu mwenye alikuwa amezoea kushindana nguo, mwambie toa nguo ushinde uchi. Hiyo huku atriki kwa sababu sasa like ilikuwa imekuingia kwa kichwa kabisa.
Sasa unaweza kaa holi ya bila simu.
Kuspend hii most of the time kwa simu. Also you need to run skills. So nilipata na place hapa nikapo apply huko. And then I started learning skills. Digital skills.
Yes, hadi siku mbili haiwezi.
Kwa wiki naachilia hata kama ni siku mbili ama sometimes na extend to wiki nzima. Napata shiki simu yangu.
Hello, kids. Did you know a year has 31,557,600 seconds? Why do you think so? Exactly. There are 60 seconds in a minute, 60 minutes in an hour, 24 hours in a day, and 365 days in a year. We count the extra 0.25 because of leap years. When you multiply all these numbers together, you get a huge number of seconds. That's why a year feels long, but time still flies when you are.
What is always before you but can't be seen?
Kudiscover talent au
Kudiscover. Ulijuangaje like unaweza imba like yeah.
Kini Trace Jumi Kipchoge kwa ngoma na mfala wananidis na wanabonga kwa ngoma, mafanjo wananipenda ndo nazidi kwa roga, wenye walenjaribu manze walishachoka na nikozabe meditation naendelesha generation niliofanya
Wewe at 1 year old ulikuwa unafanya nini? You're feeling the vibe. Ulitoa a few days ago, unaweza taka utuambie like ulikuwa unafikiria nini when you came up with the lyrics? Yeah.
So I'm doing my thing. Don't try and stop me when I'm doing my thing. I'm tryna boss, let me do my thing. And if you're tryna win, you can be on my team. Yeah, so I'm doing my thing. Don't try and stop me when I'm doing my thing. I'm tryna boss, let me do my thing.
You feel like you're young at heart, I'm an old soul. If you could only listen to one singer or band for the rest of your life, who would you choose?
And the question of the day is, can you survive without internet?
Ngumu. Plus kuachilia hizo story tu zote zikupite ni ngori.
Niwaambie ukweli. Like hii ni kama kuambia mtu mwenye alikuwa amezoea kushindana nguo, mwambie toa nguo ushinde uchi. Hiyo huku atriki kwa sababu sasa like ilikuwa imekuingia kwa kichwa kabisa.
Sasa unaweza kaa holi ya bila simu.
Kuspend hii most of the time kwa simu. Also you need to run skills. So nilipata na later hapa nikapo-apply huko. And then I started learning skills. Digital skills.
Yes, hadi siku mbili haiwezi.
Kwa wiki naachilia hata kama ni siku mbili ama sometimes na extend to wiki nzima. Napata shiki simu yangu.
Everywhere, GBS.
Welcome back to the Ambassador here in Kenya's capital, Nairobi. This is GBS TV. Now, the President of the United States, Donald Trump, met with the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Keir Starmer, to discuss issues ranging from tariffs to new trade deals. However, the main agenda of the meeting was about Ukraine's future. Abdi Hamid Ali has more.
US President Donald Trump met with UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer for the first time since Trump was sworn in to discuss issues ranging from trade deals, tariffs, and the historic relations between US and the United Kingdom. Before meeting President Trump, the Prime Minister stressed about the significance of the relations between the two nations.
And my message is really simple, that there is no more important relationship for the United Kingdom in defence, in security, in trade, in tech, in finance, and so much more. We share fundamental values of openness, of democracy, freedom of speech, freedom to thrive, and freedom to pursue the future.
Starmer, while in the Oval Office, gave Trump an invitation to visit King Charles. Trump expressed his interest to visit the UK.
I'll be going there, and we expect to see each other in the near future.
Both leaders discussed about a bilateral trade agreement.
We're going to end up with a very good trade agreement for both countries, and we're working on that as we speak.
Trump stated that the Prime Minister worked very hard to avoid the UK being imposed by tariffs.
Tried. He was working hard, I'll tell you that. He earned whatever the hell they pay him over there. But he tried.
The press conference, however, exhibited the division between the two leaders when Keir Starmer was talking about US-Canada relations, which has soured once Trump became president. Trump rudely interrupted Starmer.
You mentioned Canada. I think you're trying to find a divide between us that doesn't exist. We're the closest of nations, and we had very good discussions today, but we didn't discuss Canada.
Thank you.
Trump and Starmer have different views when it comes to the implementation of a peace deal with Ukraine. Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky agreed on a proposed mineral deal where US will exploit rare earth minerals to create electric vehicles, smartphones and missiles. Trump once called Zelensky a dictator, and he told reporters he didn't believe saying that.
Did I say that? I can't believe I said that. Next question.
Here is the video of Trump calling Zelensky a dictator.
He refuses to have elections. It's low in the real Ukrainian polls. I mean, how can you be high with every city is being demolished? It's hard to be high. Somebody said, oh, no, his polls are good. Give me a break. Every city is being demolished. They look like a demolition site, every single one of them. And the only thing he was really good at was playing Joe Biden like a fiddle. He played him like a fiddle. That's an expression we use, yes, sir, to say that he's pretty easy. A dictator without elections. Zelensky better move fast or he's not going to have a country left. Got to move fast because that war is going in the wrong direction.
Starmer expressed his worry about the peace deal that seems to favor Russia more than Ukraine.
Concern is that if there's a deal, and I hope there is a deal, that it must be a lasting deal, that it's not a temporary measure. And that is why I think it's really important that Putin knows that this deal, a historic deal, which I very much hope comes about, is there, and it's a lasting deal, and that we're able to deal with any inclination he has to go again or go further.
I think we'll have two deals. I think we'll have a deal on ending the war, and I think we're going to end up with a great trade deal with you.
Trump challenged Starmer in the Oval Office if he could take on Russia.
They're backing each other up between our two countries. That is why this is the greatest alliance for prosperity and security I think the world has ever seen. Whenever necessary, we've absolutely backed each other up, and that's at the core.
Could you take on Russia by yourselves?
Well,
the United States and the United Kingdom were historic allies since the Second World War. Trump seemed to test the historic relationship by challenging it with tariffs and distancing himself from the European Union from being in the negotiation table to end the war. Only time will tell how the relationship between the two transatlantic nations fare. This is Abdihamid Ali, GBS News.
British-American influencers Andrew and Tristan Tate have arrived in the United States after Romanian authorities lifted a 2-year travel ban. The brothers, who are facing serious charges including human trafficking and rape in Romania, were seen departing Bucharest despite their arrival in Florida. Romanian prosecutors have made it clear that the case against them remains ongoing. Triza Tiengo reports.
Andrew and Tristan Tate, British-American influencers facing trial in Romania on charges including human trafficking, have arrived in the United States after Romanian prosecutors lifted a 2-year travel ban. The brothers, aged 38 and 36, deny all allegations against them, including accusations of rape and human trafficking. They were released from house arrest and deported to Bucharest for Florida on a private jet. Upon arrival, Andrew Tate told reporters they are misunderstood and emphasized that they have never been convicted of a crime.
Listen. We live in a democratic society where it's innocent until proven guilty, and I think my brother and I are largely misunderstood.
Romanian prosecutors clarified that the case against the brothers is ongoing and they remain under judicial control, meaning they must report to authorities regularly and are expected to return to Romania at the end of March. The Tates are also facing a civil case in US related to allegations of coercion and defamation, as well as separate charges in the UK. Their release has raised concerns about potential political pressure from Trump administration, which the US president denied, denied, stating he was unaware of any such involvement.
Release them, and if so, I know nothing about that.
The Tates have expressed strong support for Trump in the past, and there have been reports that US officials, including Trump's envoy, raised the issue of the brothers' case with the Romanian authorities. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, however, said before the brothers landed that the state was not involved in organizing their trip, did not welcome them, and have been exploring legal opinions to prevent the visit.
Florida is not a place where you're welcome with that type of conduct in the air. And I don't know how it came to this. We were not involved. We were not notified. I found out through the media that this was something that was happening.
Despite these concerns, the Tate's lawyer stated that they feel secure in the US and plan to return to Romania to comply with legal requirements. Romanian officials have emphasized that any violations of their judicial obligations could result in stricter measurements, including a return in custody. The brothers' case has sparked significant debate, with critics accusing the Romanian government of giving in to external pressure, while supporters argue that the Tates are being unjustly targeted. Triza Tiengo, GBS News.
Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi met with the President of European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, at Hyderabad House in Delhi on Friday. The two leaders revealed the progress of ongoing negotiations for comprehensive trade agreement and explored strategies of strengthened trade and investment relations. During a joint press statement, Prime Minister Modi highlighted the significance of the visit, noting, and I quote, "This is one of the early visits of the European Commission's new tenure. Over 2 decades of strategic partnership between India and the EU is natural and organic, built on a foundation of trust and democratic values. We have had sincere and meaningful discussion on various issues. We have instructed our teams to work towards a mutually beneficial free trade agreement with the aim of finalizing it by the end of this year." Von der Leyen, who arrived in the capital on Thursday with the EU colleague of commissioners, also participated in the second bilateral ministerial meeting of the India-EU Trade and Technology Council, alongside other high-level ministerial discussions. Now, the United States and the United Kingdom have condemned Thailand and for deporting 48 Uyghurs to China. According to the United States and the United Nations, the Uyghurs are a Muslim group in China who are facing ethnic cleansing since 2014. Meanwhile, in Japan, innovators have created an artificial intelligence robots that provide care to the elderly. Countries like Japan is seeing an increase in the aging population, facing a shortage of care workers. Here is more on the same.
The UN Human Rights Commission condemned Thailand for the deportation of 48 Uyghurs to China. Human rights experts have warned Thailand that by sending the Uyghurs back to China, they may face the wrath of torture from the Chinese government. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio shared the sentiment with UN Human Rights Commission. The UN and the US government have long accused China of committing ethnic cleansing against the Uyghurs. The 48 groups of Uyghurs came to China in 2014. Initially, there were 300 in the group. Some were taken by Turkey and others were deported back to China. Both China and Thailand have stated that the deportation of the 48 Uyghurs were in accordance to the international law. Meanwhile, in Japan, tech innovators have created an artificial intelligence robots that will provide care to the elderly. The artificial intelligence robots, also known as EREC, was created as a way for Japan to cope with the shortage of the working population. The birth rate has been declining in Japan, while the aging population is said to double in the next decade. Even though other countries have larger unemployed youth, Japan's restrictive immigration policy has made the working population to steadily decrease. Shigeki Sugano, a professor at Waseda University, had this to say.
As we are entering a super-aging society and the birth rate is declining, we will need robots' support in providing medical and elderly care and in our daily lives. Unfortunately, the current robot technologies are still in a premature stage when it comes to interacting with people and supporting them. The ultimate goal of our project is to somehow achieve that.
Takaki Ito, a caretaker, had this to say concerning the proposed utilization of AI robots in nursing homes.
If such a robot were really created, I think it would be very helpful to us in the field. However, I'm a little bit worried that the warmth generated from human interaction between residents and caregivers and the subtle communication, such as reading the room and understanding the situation, might be difficult to replicate.
The recent developing news in Asia raises the question, will Thailand face penalty for deporting a population facing ethnic cleansing back to China? How will the international community protect the Uyghurs who have been facing genocide since 2014? And how will Japan cope with the knowledge that they will be more reliant with artificial intelligence in other job sectors apart from taking care of the elderly population? Only time will tell. This is Abdihamid Ali, GBS News.
And now, that's all of for today with me, your Ambassador Paul Mathenge, on The Ambassador 1 p.m. Follow all of our stories at GBS TV. It's updated through the day. This is where we debunk global diplomacy and geopolitics. Thank you for your time and company.
Everywhere, GBS.